I've seen it so many times. People believe that, yeah, it idles too much, then loosen the idle screw, and it idles too low, then tighten the idle screw. No, you always start with the low needle. Aluminium, it fits. Obviously my engine was idling at a bit too high. In this video I want to show you how to solve the problem. Now, there could be two reasons for the idle RPM being too high. First of all, the low needle being too lean, and secondly, the idle screw being too tight. What to start with? I've seen it so many times that, you know, people believe that, yeah, it idles too much, then loosen the idle screw, and it idles too low, then tighten the idle screw. No, you always start with the low needle. The low needle affects the carburation, and the carburation affects the idle RPM regardless of the idle screw setting. So you need to start with the low needle first. Now what I want to do is, first I want to check the low needle is right. There's a very simple way how to do it. You start the motor, run it a little bit on the idle, and add throttle abruptly. Now, you've noticed that the engine kind of almost died and then eventually went into the RPMs, but there was a hesitation, there was a delay. I squeezed the throttle and the engine was ooh, and then went into the RPM. This is a clear indication of the low needle being too lean. Now, before you do any steps, you need to make sure that you did this test with a hot engine. Every cold engine, in my experience, behaves a little bit like being a little lean. So you want to be sure that your engine is warm, and if it still behaves like this, then it's an indication of low needle being too lean. I'm going to warm it up again and see if this behavior persists. Now this is another sign of a very lean, low needle. I revved the engine up high, it's warm, and when I went off the throttle, the RPM was decreasing very slowly. Normally a good tuned engine should go down to the RPM pretty quickly. The prop still will be spinning for a while because it has a clutch and the momentum keeps it spinning, but in this case the engine was still revving over 3000, it was hesitating to go down. Now it's warm up, and I want to do the test again. Quick blimp on the throttle and see how it reacts. Yeah, you see, the engine is dying. That's a clear indication. We need to open the low needle a little bit. 2 minutes, make it 2 minutes. Okay. Now it's still idling a bit too high on the microphone if it catches the sound, but I still felt like there's a tiny little bit of hesitation. So Stefan, would you please open the low needle just a little bit?
1 minute.
Yeah, just a tiny little bit. It was almost good. So now the engine was reactive. So when I added the throttle, there were no symptoms of the engine hesitating or even dying. So the low needle is probably fine or very close to be fine. Now is the time to adjust the idle screw because the idle RPM is still too high. The prop was still spinning, so it's too much. So Stefan, would you please adjust the idle screw? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Final check on the throttle. Yeah, final check on the throttle. Blimp on the throttle and it reacts, so it means it's not too lean anymore. It seems to be just right. So we went from too lean, richer and richer and richer, until the hesitation kind of disappeared. Now I have the throttle reactive, that means the low needle is set right, and I have the RPM fine, that means the idle screw is set right. This is the way to do it. Start with the low needle and then finish with the idle screw. Thanks for watching, guys. I very much hope this video was helpful for you. Check our website scoutparamo.com/support for other user manuals. Have fun in the air. Ciao. So all the bolts are screwed in.